Hello once again. You are listening to the Appleton REIA podcast. This is Dan Alborn. Alongside me is not Jackie Conklin. Yeah, Matt Hodkiewicz, right? Normally in this deal, it's Jackie stepping in, but she's actually out doing the thing, man. She's living life. Her and her family are somewhere across the U.S. right now. They got a big RV, and anyone who knows Jackie knows that this is well-deserved for her because she doesn't do it often enough. So she's spending some quality time with Brett and the kids and trying to make the most of what they can with COVID. But they should have a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll be getting her back on the podcast here in maybe a month or so. But anyway, I have an awesome friend of mine for quite some time and actually current business partners. We're doing some endeavors together. But Matt Hodkiewicz joins the Appleton REIA podcast. And Matt's been doing investing for probably close to 6 years, but I don't want to steal all the thunder, Matt. Maybe just talk a little bit about you, what you do, and where you are here today in the investing world.
Yeah. My wife and I have been doing this about 6 years. We both came from corporate America and did that for about 20 years. Decided to kind of take the plunge into something different, change paths and directions with, our careers. And so about 6 years ago, we started in real estate, and we've been doing a little bit of everything. I mean, kind of everything you can think of.
Yeah.
We've done some flips. We've done some wholesale, some lease options, some subject to. We've got quite the rental portfolio that we built up in that time, really just trying to dig in and learn everything and anything we can about real estate and how we can benefit from that and help people out of situations when they're in those tough crunches.
Yeah, I know we were just talking last night, and you were pretty proud. You're like, I've finally done. I mean, usually wholesaling is like the entry level real estate transaction. You're like, we finally did our first one, which good for you guys.
We joke about that. We've done pretty much everything, and we've actually never done a wholesale, but now we officially have that under our belt.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, Matt does a lot of flips, and they do a phenomenal job, and Matt and his team, I mean, they have systems and stuff set up to really maximize their leads and do volume, and I think to do that, you have to have good systems and people in place, and I think Matt and Tina, along with myself, we've kind of recently partnered to do some stuff together. They got it figured out. So if you want to really maximize your business, that's what you got to do. But today we're going to talk about an important element of the transaction. Matt, I think you know this. Marketing is the lifeblood of your business, right? I mean, if you don't have people calling you, you're not making deals, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
So, I mean, your activities ultimately drive your results, and eventually, if you do the marketing and you do it consistently, the phone's going to ring, and lo and behold, you may even get one of those things called a homeowner appointment. And a lot of people, they get scared. It can be intimidating. What was it like when you went your first homeowner appointment, Matt?
Oh, it was so scary. I mean, I had no idea what we were doing. So I'm walking into this appointment going, I don't even know how we can help them. So it is intimidating, but, we didn't let that get to us. And thankfully, my wife came with me on our first few, and, we kind of tag teamed a little bit on just building the rapport with that homeowner and how we can help them out. And, we get through it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
No, I was going to say, I didn't even think about that as, we kind of talked briefly about what to go through. But if you have a partner or a friend or a spouse, when you're going on these homeowner appointments, if they're the extra support you need, bring them with. Even if they're just there to stand next to you and kind of give you a little extra oomph. Sometimes if you don't go in confident, people can sense that. And that can be somewhat detrimental to you. But really, the homeowner appointment is what I'm getting at, is really can be the difference of whether or not you're going to get a deal or not. That is your time to really sell yourself, talk to the homeowner, find out their problems. So today, I want to take a little bit of time, and specifically in the COVID world that we're living in, sometimes it's just not practical to actually go to the property and talk to the seller. And I think with technology today, I know, Matt, we've done that where we've actually done some remote, like Zoom walkthrough homeowner appointments. Yep, so you have to get crafty when it comes down to it. But what we're going to talk about today, this is translatable outside of working through the technical side of things and getting your homeowner online with Zoom, or you can use like Google Duo. I mean, if they're iPhone people, you have FaceTime, which is super easy to use. So there's so many different ways you can do this if you can't physically go to the property, depending where you're at. But I want to talk about, I have 5 P's that can help you perfect the homeowner appointment. The 5 P's to perfecting homeowner appointments. See, I knew I'd come up with the title of this podcast, Matt. It just had to flow. So Perfect. The first thing is, I think you need to be very professional, but being personable. And I think that's so important. I guess that first impression is really critical, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still trying to service and you want to show up professional. It's not a suit and tie situation, but it's
Right.
definitely not in my opinion, it's not also not shorts and tank top and flip flops.
Mm-hmm.
So just being professional, kind of representing who you are and how you can help them. It's all about first impression.
Right.
And, that goes such a long way.
Yeah, and I've always heard this too, that when you're meeting people specifically in a business level, you want to be at their dress level or maybe one step above that. To your point, you're not going suit and tie to a homeowner appointment, specifically if they're down on their luck. But maybe a nice polo. You could perhaps wear shorts. Maybe some other things depending on the situation, the time of year. Dress appropriately. Don't look like you just came from the beach.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But you also don't want to come across like you're so professional that you're not a real human being. Don't be fake. And that's what I mean by being personable. Just be genuinely interested in trying to solve the problem, like Matt talked about. The second one I think is equally important is being punctual. If you want to really set yourself off on the wrong foot, is be late. I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you've had to show up late, or I guess I have different techniques about getting there early. I guess, what do you do typically when you're doing a homeowner appointment that makes sure you're there on time, Matt?
Well, I got to tell you, I come from a military background. I did 4 years in the Marine Corps, and punctual is pretty important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm 15 minutes early, I'm on time. If any later than that, and I'm too late. And that's just in my blood. That's my personality. But I hold that true to my business. You have to remember that you're asking for a moment of these people's time in a hard situation, and the least you can do is be on time. And
Right.
it's very important to me, and I want to make sure that I project that onto a homeowner as well. Say, if I'm going to be there at 10, I'm going to be there at 10. So
Yep.
to me, it's super important.
Well, what I love is to your point, the 15-minute rule I think is perfect. Like, plan to be there at 15 minutes early, and then what you do, drive the neighborhood, man. Get a feel of what's going on. What type of homes are there? Google's a great tool, but for me, being in the neighborhood, getting a sense of what's going on. Are there a lot of rentals around there? What do the other homes look like today versus whenever Google drove past 2-3 years ago? I think gives you a flavor, and sometimes can ultimately impact what your after repair value is. Maybe you go into that neighborhood, wow, this is nicer than what I thought. It's very quiet. Or, man, this was a busy road. You can't sometimes dictate that through just an aerial view from a satellite image. So that will also allow you to be there, a few minutes early is maybe even good, but for sure be there on time. And in the worst case scenario, if you're late, you better give them a heads up. Don't just show up late and be like, oh, I got caught in traffic. And don't make that a habit. And if that is something you're having a struggle with, then you need to change that habit and new patterns to not be the case, because that can definitely impact. Out of the gates, the homeowner's going to think, well, who is this guy? They can't even make time for me. Like Matt says, their time's important, much like yours. So the other thing, and Matt, we talked briefly about this, and this is the third P. It's being patient. But this is really where you build that rapport and build the rapport. And Matt, I think you said earlier, this is probably the most important piece of the puzzle, right?
It really is. I mean, that's where we strive to set ourselves different than everybody else. And really, I want to build that rapport. I want to be patient with that homeowner. I want them to tell me their story. Tell me your situation. Tell me what's going on in your life. And we'll see if we can help you out. And I truly, firmly believe that. Our goal is to help a lot of these homeowners out. The situations we find ourselves in, these are people that are down on their luck, having hard times. Our goal isn't to go out there and just find cheap houses and, buy them at pennies on the dollar. We really strive to help people out. And genuinely, to do that, you've got to be patient with them. You've got to listen to their story, listen to their hardship, understand where they're coming from. And then, and only then, can you really kind of let them know how you and your company can help them out.
Right.
Here's what we can do for you. Here's what we can help you in this situation. And, it all comes back to that building the rapport, being patient with them, and listening to what they've got to say.
Yeah, no.
Too many people, I think, in this business try to get in the door, and they're throwing, business cards at them and websites, and like, here's what we do, here's how we help, this is what we can do. And that information does need to come out during that conversation, but it's you really want to just listen. Just listen to their situation.
One of the things I've actually gotten worse at as I've gotten more experience in this business is the specifics on the home. Like, I agree with you 100%. My key is to go there, really talk to the homeowner, And at the end of the day, they'll be like, "Oh, how many bedrooms?" I mean, you can find a lot of that's public records, but the beds, baths, and some of that type of stuff, you're going to find about anywhere. The real time when you're there with the homeowner is, like Matt said, really, asking good questions. Things like saying, "Well, tell me more about that." Open-ended questions, not just the simple yes, no. Oh, you mentioned that something happened where mom and dad passed away. I guess talk a little bit about that. What experience are you going through right now? And allowing them to listen. And it's okay to add pauses as you're talking to them too, to just allow them to open up more. And once you get them to build that rapport, they then know that you're there to help them, as opposed to you're just coming there to make a quick buck, which sometimes can feel that way with what we do. So if you add the person,
well, and a lot of times, even in that conversation, when you're listening to their story, listening to the situation, you're going to find a lot of things out. We'll ask. Actually, Dan, you and I had a conversation last night. We were talking about asking the homeowner what's more important to you. Do you need to get out of this situation quickly, or are you just looking for top dollar?
Right.
And that can really curb a conversation. So if you're just listening and being patient and understanding what's going on with that homeowner, a lot of times in their conversation, that's going to come out. They're going to say, "Listen, I've got to sell this house. I can't deal with it anymore. It's been a headache. I thought I could fix it up myself. Whatever the situation is." And then you're going to understand, okay, I think I can help them out of this situation. They're not necessarily looking for top dollar. They're looking for someone to solve this problem.
100%. And there's been times I know, Matt, you've done this, I've done this as well, where they went with our offer. It may not have been the most financially lucrative for them, but they felt the most comfortable with us, and they knew we could close the deal, and that's why they chose us. So that goes a long way. It's a big P, being patient and also building that rapport. The fourth P is being proactive. Once you kind of understand their situation, that's where you can really get, in this business, that's what's the awesome thing about real estate is how you can get creative. It's, offering them solutions, giving them timelines, walking them through the process of really telling the story how you're going to solve their problem. Because if you don't give them solutions and you just say, "All right, well, I'll get back to you," you're just going to be another number and the next person comes through. This is where it can really set you apart, is having that proactive approach. Specifically once you've kind of went through and found out what's going on with them. And I know, Matt, that's something that you are really great at is, I know you and I spitball a lot about just how can we help this seller? They need our help. And it's just trying to get creative if you can, of course. Not everyone we can serve. But,
Sure.
How do we solve the problem?
Yep, and that's how, you're right, proactive just ties right into that. Okay, now we know what their problem is. What are the tools in our toolbox that we can use to help them out? If it's just simply, I need a cash deal and need to close as quick as possible, okay, we can do that. But you're right, sometimes that's not always the option. They may be upside down on their mortgage and they owe more than the house is worth. Okay, well, let's talk about some of our options there. We may be able to help traverse through, a short sale or, some other options there. Maybe we've already worked with homeowners where we're trying to get them through doing a loan modification. And even that process alone, it can be very troublesome and time consuming and overwhelming for homeowners. We're not going to benefit at all on that, but just knowing that we know some of these solutions and we can help those homeowners out, it pays back tenfold in the long run.
100%. I mean, my mantra is serve first. I mean, if we serve them first, maybe this person we don't benefit from financially out of the gates, but it comes back. I mean, it really does. And sometimes, to Matt's point, like with loan modification, what happens if the loan modification falls through? Well, guess what? You have another solution for them. Maybe the short sale is the next option. So, but if you come from that real heartfelt approach, like we want to help you and here's the tools, or sometimes you refer to someone who can help them, right? Maybe it is a straight listing play. And at that point in time, you have a realtor in your back pocket that you can give the listing to. There's numerous ways that you can monetize those leads. All right, the last piece of this puzzle, the fifth P, and this is equally important, is be prepared. I don't know about you, Matt, but typically before I even step and talk to the person, I already kind of know what the ARV is, right? I have an idea of kind of maybe based on my conversation, what the rehab cost is. Kind of know your numbers going in, so you can really make an offer on the spot.
Right, exactly. So, we said you want to listen to that homeowner and understand their situation, but doesn't mean you can't go in prepared, right? The technology is an amazing thing. I mean, you mentioned earlier, it's kind of funny. When we first started doing this on those phone calls, I'd be asking all these questions. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What's your square footage? And now, after 5 years, I realized, many of these homeowner appointments, it just doesn't matter.
Right.
I can find that information somewhere else. Let me understand your situation and see if I can come out to your house and talk to you and help you out. I don't need to know that information going in.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, after I hang up and set a homeowner appointment, now I'm going to do my due diligence. Now I'm going to look up that property. I'm going to figure out where is it, what school district, is it a neighborhood that we want to be in, and then I can figure out bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. A lot of times you can find pictures even from maybe a previous listing, get a really good idea of the layout of the home.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have all of that stuff and show up to that appointment, basically be prepared, have your comp, have your rough rehab idea, and kind of a little bit of a game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll allow you to go more confident too. And then lastly, bring a contract. That way, if you know your numbers are there, you can actually have a contract with someone. If you build great rapport and you kind of explain what you do and how you do it and the offer that you have and the strategies, there's a very good chance you could walk away with that contract on that visit, which means no one else is coming in. You don't have to play the waiting game. So having all of these things put together, these 5 Ps, are going to allow you to find more opportunities, which you can then transact, get under contract, wholesale, flip, keep as a rental. And this is a process that will take some time, but the more effective you can get in these 5 areas, I think really can set you apart from your competition and allow you to perfect the homeowner appointment. So, well, Matt, hey, thank you for coming on the podcast today, man. I appreciate your insight as always. You are a wealth of info, and I know you kind of geek out about this real estate stuff, so it's always fun to bend your ear and sit around with a few beverages and talk some real estate.
You bet. Glad
Even
to be
though
here.
We're doing some virtual waters today or whatever the case may be. But here's the deal. Obviously, we are still in transition with the Appleton REIA of finding a location of where to be. This month, I know we may be looking to do some type of Zoom meeting. So stay on the lookout for that through your email. But we're also trying to find a new location. And we'll know more about that here. And we have a very cool event coming up in September that we'll tell you more about here in the next few weeks. So be on the lookout for that. So as always, to keep up to date on the latest happenings, AppletonREIA.com. You can check out all the great vendors, get great discounts. And once again, I thank you, Matt Hodkiewicz, as my guest today on the Appleton REIA podcast.
You bet.
All right, man. You have a good one. You guys have a great week. Go get some deals. Use these 5 Ps, secure some stuff, and have a great rest of your 2020. Talk soon. See ya.